Hello, and thank you to tuning in to the Community Resilience Centers, or CRC, and Transformative Climate Communities, or TCC, Programs Application Overview. This video provides a high-level overview of the CRC and TCC programs application process and directs applicants to sections in the guidelines where they can find additional information and program requirements. During our presentation, we'll cover a TCC and CRC program overview, which will highlight the program similarities and key differences. Then we will go into an overview of CRC Round 2 and TCC Round 6. Lastly, we will end with TCC and CRC application components. Before we start with the presentation, we would like to introduce you to acronyms you will hear frequently throughout the presentation. We have SGC, which is Strategic Growth Council, TCC, which is Transformative Climate Communities Program, CRC, which is the Community Resilience Centers Program, PG for Planning Grant, PDG for Project Development Grant, IG for Implementation Grant, TA for Technical Assistance, and CGS for Collaborative Governance Structure. Throughout this presentation, we will use the P, D, and I icons to indicate which grant type the material is relevant to. Let's begin with the TCC and CRC program overview. The TCC program funds community-led development and infrastructure projects that achieve major environmental, health, and economic benefits in California's most disadvantaged communities. So far, the TCC program has invested a total of $424 million in California communities in rounds 1 through 5. In round 6, the TCC program will invest a total of $98.4 million in funding for its 3 grant types. The CRC program funds the planning, development, construction, and upgrades of community resilience centers, along with services and programs to improve local resilience holistically. In round 1, CRC invested a total of $97.5 million in California communities. CRC will have a total of $55 million available in round 2. TCC Round 6 and CRC Round 2 are both funded by the 2024 Climate Bond. Additionally, applicants may only apply to one grant type for each program, but applicants may apply to both the TCC and the CRC programs. One common component for both TCC and CRC programs is the definition of eligible lead applicants. The lead applicant must be based in California and be an eligible entity. Eligible entities include California Native American tribes, tribally owned nonprofits, nonprofit organizations, special districts, joint power authorities, public or local publicly owned utilities, mutual water companies, or public agencies. Private shareholder corporations are not eligible to serve as lead applicants or funded partners. Please review Section 3.1 in the TCC and CRC program guidelines for details about eligible applicants. Eligible applications representing tribal applicants, disadvantaged unincorporated communities, or previous SGC or LCI grantees will receive additional points during application review. Refer to the Round 6 TCC guidelines, Section 9.4 for more information. CRC will also consider geographic diversity in final award decisions. More information about other priority communities is outlined in Section 8 of the Round 2 CRC guidelines. Now that we've covered eligible applicants, we want to provide some additional information specifically about tribal applicants. Federally and non-federally recognized California Native American tribes and tribally owned nonprofits are eligible to apply as lead applicants or co-applicants or partners. Tribal applicants are given priority points and will receive additional flexibility in several program and application requirements. Tribal applicants are also prioritized for technical assistance during the application process. Our programs have a tribal funding goal and intend to fund tribally led projects. Please refer to Section 2 of the guidelines for additional information relevant to California Native American tribes and tribal applicants. Next, we can dive into how these entities will work together within a collaborative governance structure. Collaborative governance is a central element to the TCC and CRC programs. It promotes community involvement in projects happening in their own neighborhood and helps ensure accountability from project partners to residents. The structure defines how the lead applicant and co-applicants or partners will collaboratively work together to implement the project over the lifetime of the grant. The lead applicant and all co-applicants or partners will jointly develop and sign a collaborative governance agreement. Those applying for implementation grants or TCC project development grants will submit the new collaborative governance agreement worksheet with their application and formalize the agreement within 90 days of contract execution. We will further describe the role of the collaborative governance agreements in worksheet and the application component section of this presentation. We recommend applicants review section 3.2 of the TCC and CRC guidelines for more information on developing a collaborative governance structure and requirements.
Now that we've addressed the basics of both programs, we'll cover some details specific to the Community Resilience Centers program. We encourage applicants to carefully review Round 2 guidelines and application materials to supplement information provided during this overview. We'll start with the CRC Round 2 program objectives. CRC funds the planning, construction, and retrofit of community resilience centers across California's diverse communities. These investments advance local communities' capacity to respond to and recover from emergencies as they build long-term resilience, so communities can both respond to immediate needs and provide year-round programming. This includes both physical and social infrastructure. CRC encourages meaningful engagement, cross-sector collaboration, community-based partnerships, and shared governance and decision-making models. It also seeks to mitigate the public health impacts of extreme heat and other climate-driven emergencies. For CRC, priority is given to projects located in and benefiting under-resourced, rural, unincorporated, and tribal communities across California's diverse regions. Applicants can refer to Section 1 of the Round 2 guidelines for more details. Now let's take a look at the different grant types under the CRC program, which includes 2 grant types, planning grants and implementation grants. This is a change from Round 1, which also included the project development grant. In Round 2, the program has consolidated into 2 grant types by extending the grant term and including a funded pre-development phase within the implementation grant. First, let's talk about planning grants. Planning grants fund the initial stages of CRC project development. Grant activities will prepare grantees for future funding to build or renovate resilient centers. Planning grants include a 2-year term and an award amount up to $500,000. Implementation grants fund new construction and retrofits of facilities to serve as community resilience centers, as well as programs and services that build overall community resilience. Implementation grants include a 6-year grant term and an award amount up to $10 million. Now let's take a closer look at the eligible activities under each grant type. Planning grants are great for applicants exploring concepts and potential sites for local resilience centers. These grants are designed to cover the paperwork and planning leading up to construction. Eligible activities for planning grants include preparing applicants to pursue a CRC implementation grant or similar funding opportunities, identifying and preparing sites for future community resilience centers, and completing fiscal analyses and studies. Activities may also include building and sustaining the capacity of project leads and partners, evaluating and updating local policies and codes, and preparing or revising jurisdictional plans. In addition, applicants can design and conduct community engagement efforts and incorporate those results into new or enhanced programs and services. Please refer to the CRC Round 2 guidelines, Section 4.2 for more information on eligible planning grant activities. Next, let's look at eligible activities under implementation grants. Implementation grants are designed for applicants who are ready or nearly ready to start construction or renovate a CRC. Implementation grant applicants should be ready to break ground on their projects within approximately 1 year of the start of their grant term. Eligible activities for implementation grants include carrying out capital projects and developing the programs and services offered at the CRC facility and/or partner sites. This may include direct construction, retrofits, and upgrades to CRC-related spaces within the primary facility, as well as the development of essential infrastructure. Activities can also cover improvements to on-site amenities and minor upgrades to CRC-related spaces at partner locations. As noted earlier, the CRC program is designed to improve neighborhood-level resilience for climate-related impacts. So activities funded by implementation grants must also address specific CRC strategies. So what are CRC strategies? CRC strategies are essentially the types of work and projects the grants will fund. Each implementation grant application must include activities which advance at least 4 of the 6 CRC strategies. These strategies are modeled from other SGC programs, integrated with robust public comment, and can include both physical infrastructure and programmatic elements. This approach is intended to provide communities with maximum flexibility to meet local priorities and needs. The CRC strategies include Strategy 1, energy resilience, such as improvements to overall energy efficiency. Strategy 2, water resilience, such as improvements to overall such as installation of water efficient appliances. Strategy 3, air quality and public health, such as public cooling solutions. Strategy 4, nature-based solutions and food security, such as community gardens. Strategy 5, emergency preparedness and critical communications, such as disaster preparedness trainings. Strategy 6, mobility and access, such as public transit extensions to the CRC facility. Please review Section 5.3 of the CRC Round 2 guidelines for additional examples and guidance. So now that we've discussed the eligible activities for both planning and implementation grants, let's take a look at a couple of examples so that you understand what a CRC project might look like. The Reading Day Resource Center is one of our Round 1 planning grant projects. The City of Reading submitted the map on the left side of the screen with their application. The map shows several locations that the city identified for a potential community resilience center. Since being awarded a CRC planning grant, Reading has been able to select one location and take the next steps towards purchasing the building. In parallel, they've been building partnerships with their community and conducting community engagement forums to understand their community's priorities. This engagement has helped them to identify areas for future programming for their CRC. For example, one community need and priority they have identified are programs that serve low-income or unsheltered youth and young adults. In addition to program services, Reading plans to provide year-round cooling and heating, computer access and free broadband for workforce development, services like showers and laundry, and trauma-informed case management in their CRC. Additionally, the center will increase capacity during emergencies. For an example of an implementation grant, we can look at Ceres Community Project. Ceres recently completed construction and has begun operation of a fully accessible, energy-efficient CRC facility called the Center for Food, Youth, and Community in Southwest Santa Rosa. Ceres will address the nutrition and food security needs of low-income community members and respond to emergency food needs with an all-electric industrial kitchen. In addition, they will provide youth engagement opportunities, job training, disaster readiness training, and essential survival resources during times of disaster. The facility includes a solar-powered microgrid system with a battery backup system and a generator. Every community is unique, and the CRC program is not designed as a one-size-fits-all model. As we've discussed, your project should be informed by robust community engagement and highly tailored to the solutions most relevant to your climate risks and your community. These are just two examples. We recommend applicants review the guidelines carefully to understand all eligible activities. Now let's take a look at the CRC's Round 2 timeline. By the time that you're watching this video, the CRC Notice of Funding Availability, or NOFA, will be available on our website. CRC Round 2 applications for both planning and implementation grants will open on the submittable platform on July 2nd, 2026. Planning grant applications will close on September 4th, 2026, and implementation grant applications will close a few weeks later on September 25th, 2026. SGC hopes to announce the winning applicants in spring of 2027. Thank you so much for considering applying to the CRC Round 2, and we will now pass it over to the Transformative Climate Communities program. You're muted still.
Sorry about that. Thank you, CRC. Now let's get into some further details from the Transformative Climate Communities program. As mentioned previously, we encourage applicants review the Round 6 guidelines to scaffold the information in this webinar. TCC's vision is centered on a place-based approach with a focus on funding neighborhood plans in the most disadvantaged communities in the state. Interventions are created for the community by the community. The vision is further supported through the program's 6 transformative elements, which help to secure the transformative potential of these investments and, in turn, ensure meaningful and holistic benefits to community members. All this is accomplished through intentional collaboration, through a collaborative governance structure, where partners and residents developed a shared community vision in which community is a part of these solutions. TCC's framework works within funding a vast variety of project types within the realm of climate resiliency. Applicants propose projects from a menu of strategies, which correspond with their community's needs and wants for their climate future. Each project has its own requirements, to which applicants should refer to Appendix B for eligible strategies and project requirements. One of the key features of the TCC program is its focus on creating long-term community benefits through 6 transformative elements built into every project. First is community engagement. TCC emphasizes meaningful community participation and planning and implementation while also helping build local leadership and civic engagement. Second is workforce development. Applicants are encouraged to create training and education opportunities that connect residents to high-quality career pathways and local jobs tied to TCC and leverage projects. Third is displacement avoidance. TCC encourages strategies that help preserve affordable housing, protect existing residents, and support local small businesses to help communities benefit from investment without being displaced. Fourth, TCC proposals are expected to incorporate climate adaptation and resilience strategies throughout the overall proposal. These strategies should address climate-related impacts and risks facing vulnerable populations, although there was no separate funding category for this work. Fifth, for implementation grants, applicants are also required to include data collection and indicator tracking to help evaluate environmental, economic, social, and health outcomes. Technical assistance and third-party evaluation support are provided through TCC partners. Finally, leverage funding is an important component of implementation grants. Tribal applicants are exempt, but other applicants must meet minimum leverage requirements based on whether the project area is incorporated or unincorporated. Leverage funds can include federal, state, local, private, philanthropic, or in-kind contributions. Together, these transformative elements help ensure projects are community-driven, equitable, and sustainable over the long term. Additional information about incorporating transformative elements into applications can be found in Appendix C of the TCC guidelines. TCC funding can support activities across planning, project development, and implementation phases. Eligible planning activities can include funding staff and departmental capacity building, updating policies and codes, developing climate action or adaptation plans, and community engagement efforts. Project development activities can encompass planning grant activities, but may also include feasibility studies, environmental assessments, permitting, infrastructure pre-development, and additional capacity building support, such as funding key staff positions. Implementation activities focus on delivering projects on the ground, such as affordable housing construction, solar installations, expanding bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, and improving transit services, including electric vehicle integration. Eligible activities by grant type are also included in the guidelines. Now to get into the three types of TCC grants. First grant type we have is the planning grant. These grants fund preparation work for future programs to benefit communities. Past planning grantees have used funds to update climate action plans, conduct feasibility studies, build capacity, and further community engagement. This is the smallest grant of the three, with awards being up to $300,000 and a 2-year grant term. No leverage funding is required for planning grants. This may be the best fit for you if you are looking to begin or expand community-based planning work. The second grant type TCC offers are project development grants. This may be the best fit for you if you have already completed prior planning, including identifying priority projects, but need additional development to get your projects shovel-ready. Project development grants are similar to planning grants, but the key difference is that these projects are a bit further along and bridge the gap between planning and implementation. You can request up to $5 million for project development grants, and they also have a 2-year grant term. No leverage funding is required for this grant type as well. Here are some of our planning and project development grantees in action. Chicken Ranch Rancheria is one of our Round 4 planning grant recipients. This grant focused on identifying community needs via a robust community outreach strategy and development of a climate and health plan. Partnered with the Rancheria was the Tuolumne County Transportation Council and the Initiative Blue Zones Project. The County of Santa Barbara is a Round 5 project development grant focusing on the Cuyama Valley community. This grant work includes the implementation of 3 different home sustainability pilots, the design of a resilience hub, practicing familial level food sovereignty, and more. Partners here include the community-based organization Blue Sky Center, ecological resilience nonprofit, the True Nature Society of Quail Springs, and the organization Community Environmental Council. Finally, our largest grants are our implementation grants, which aim to fund proposals that coordinate multiple projects aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions, as well as achieving community benefits. Awards can be up to $27.5 million, and TCC requires applicants to have at least 50% leverage funding, with exception for tribal applicants and applicants with project areas and disadvantaged unincorporated communities. Implementation grants are the best option for communities that have already completed visioning, planning, and scoping, alongside a robust community engagement strategy and are ready to break ground. Timeline-wise, implementation grants have a 2 to 3 month post-award consultation process to finalize the grant agreements. The grant then has a 6-year term, which includes a 1-year pre-development phase to finalize work plan and budgets to get ready for implementation, a 4-year project implementation period to complete all activities, and a 1-year evaluation phase where outcome monitoring and grant closeout will take place. Implementation grants are set up to maximize benefits for the community with SGC's investments and meet our climate goals. First, applicants must develop a shared vision statement that is specific to the community and addresses all three TCC program objectives. The vision statement will encompass how the selected strategies, projects, and transformative elements will be coordinated and integrated to achieve the community transformation. TCC has 13 strategy types, which are specific action plans for community outcomes, such as transit access, solar installation, and more. Each strategy includes eligible project activities and costs that can be done within the TCC grant. We encourage you to refer to our guidelines for the full list of strategies listed in Appendix B. With this in mind, the vision statement and larger grant must use at least 3 TCC strategies, and applicants must then propose at least 3 projects. Of the selected projects, at least 1 project must directly reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and all projects must either reduce greenhouse gases or contribute directly to meaningful public health benefits. Each strategy has pre-development requirements, which are items that are not due by the application due date, but applicants must complete during the pre-development phase for their projects. Applicants must also complete the projects themselves within the 4-year implementation phase. Additionally, implementation grants must incorporate all 6 transformative elements that were discussed earlier, and they will have their own required minimum funding amounts. Applicants will need to incorporate that into their applications. Finally, TCC has determined policy priorities of which applicants must define how the proposed grant activities will address. Our policy priorities consist of consistency with existing local land use and transportation plans, high-speed rail connectivity, if applicable, water supply and wastewater infrastructure, air pollution reduction and mitigation, and pro-housing policies. Information on how to comply with the program policy priorities can be found in section 10.19 of our guidelines. So, how does this all come together? This is a Round 4 implementation grant recipient, the City of Richmond's Richmond Rising proposal, which was awarded $35 million. This proposal included 5 partners that aim to address environmental justice concerns in the Iron Triangle, Santa Fe, and Coronado neighborhoods in Richmond. The proposal is informed by over 4 years of youth leadership, grassroots organizing, and community planning, including a TCC planning grant from Round 1. Richmond Rising includes 9 projects aimed at supporting the community vision of complete streets, an affordable e-bike lending library, energy and water efficient homes, and multiple food security and public health projects that will bring accessible gardening, orchards, and local vegetables to residents. The community engagement plan includes a youth leadership program, and the workforce training program provides both technical career skills and supportive services. This next slide highlights the major milestones for the Round 6 TCC funding cycle and key dates applicants should be aware of throughout the application process. Our NOFA was released and our application was opened on May 29th. For applicants pursuing an implementation grant, a pre-proposal is required and must be submitted by June 30th, 2026. On July 31st, 2026, 2 items are due, including the tribal modifications requests and technical assistance request forms. Final applications for all grant types are due on September 30th, 2026. Following the application review and evaluation process, Round 6 TCC awards are anticipated to be adopted by the Strategic Growth Council in spring 2027.
All right, so hopefully at this point you have an idea of your eligibility and which programs or grant type is the best for you. Now we'll go a little bit deeper into the application process and specific application components for each grant type and program. CRC and TCC applicants will be evaluated and awarded through a competitive process. All applications are required to be submitted through Submittable, a free online application platform. Lead applicants will need to create a free Submittable account or sign in with Google or Facebook credentials to initiate an application. SGC will provide a link to submittable applications and all program materials on each program's web pages. Additionally, TCC and CRC will provide instructions on how to complete application components and will provide templates or worksheets for certain components. For TCC, on April 29th, pre-proposals opened for implementation grant applications. On May 29th, applications opened for all grant types, and they close on September 30th, 2026. For CRC, on July 2nd, applications open for all grant types. CRC will have different application close dates. September 4th for planning grant applications and September 25th for implementation grant applications. Again, applications must be submitted via Submittable by the stated due date and time. For more information about application due dates, please read our program's NOFAs. For applicants interested in submitting a planning grant for either TCC or CRC, the good news is that most of the application components are similar across both programs. Every planning grant applicant will need to submit narrative responses, a work plan and budget, which we call the application workbook, a letter of commitment from co-applicants and partners, and a project area map. Where the two programs differ is that TCC applicants will need a local planning consistency letter, and CRC applicants will need a draft community engagement plan, as well as financial and management capacity documentation. The two programs have similar applicant eligibility. All applicants must include at least one co-applicant or partner. And if you're a public agency or tribal applicant, you'll need to also submit a letter of authorization or a past formal resolution that authorizes your organization to apply as the lead applicant. We highly recommend applicants review our final guidelines available on the SGC website for more details. As a reminder, project development grants are available for the TCC program. The requirements are similar to planning grants, with the addition of documentation that demonstrates the lead applicant's financial capacity, documentation that demonstrates the lead applicant and co-applicant's management capacity, and a requirement of at least 2 co-applicants. Additional requirements may apply if your application includes water supply or wastewater infrastructure projects or pilot projects. For implementation grants for both the TCC and CRC program, applicants must first demonstrate that they are eligible for the TCC or CRC implementation grant and that they have eligible partners. This includes documentation such as letters of authorization or past formal resolution. Lead applicants must have at least 2 co-applicants or partners of an eligible organization type. For CRC only, there must be at least one community-based organization included as a lead applicant or partner, and they must be funded by the grant if awarded. Certain applicants are eligible to receive additional points for representing certain communities. Please review the section on priority points and guidelines to see if these apply to your community and application. Application requirements for implementation grants are more extensive than requirements for planning grants or project development grants for both TCC and CRC. Applicants are encouraged to start their application early. For TCC, all implementation grant applicants must submit a pre-proposal prior to submitting a full application. The pre-proposal for TCC is due on June 30th, 2026. Both the TCC and CRC implementation grant applications include narrative questions on a range of topics, including but not limited to vision and objectives, applicant capacity, site control and readiness, and financial feasibility. Applicants will submit an application work plan and budget detailing anticipated costs, timelines, and deliverables for their proposed projects using an SGC provided template. Applicants will need to demonstrate their financial capacity and management capacity to administer the grant and complete proposed activities, including letters of commitment and financial documentation. Applicants will also submit a collaborative governance agreement worksheet, which we will describe in depth in a few minutes. For TCC only, applicants were required to submit strategy-specific requirements, a project area map, a leverage funding worksheet, a local planning consistency letter, and other threshold documentation. For CRC only, applicants must also submit a prior community engagement worksheet for activities conducted within the last 3 years, a community engagement plan for proposed activities during the grant term, and a draft emergency and CRC community resilience plan using SGC provided templates. Lastly, applications must submit evidence of consultation with local emergency service providers. Please note this is not an exhaustive list of all application requirements. Please refer to each program's guidelines and submittable applications when available for more information. For TCC Round 6 and CRC Round 2, implementation grants include a phased grant term. During the application period, applicants will complete and submit all required documentation. Only applications that meet all application requirements will be considered for award. The TCC application period is 4 months, and the CRC application period is 2 to 3 months. After application review and scoring, top scoring applicants will be required to interview with program staff, and interview scores will be combined with written application scores to help determine final ranking. After the application period, SGC will make awards anticipated in April 2027. Each awarded grantee will have a post-award consultation period of 2 to 3 months for TCC and 6 months for CRC, during which the terms of the grant agreement are reviewed by both parties and the grant agreement is executed. The first 9 months of the grant term is the pre-development phase. Awarded grantees must meet specific pre-development requirements outlined in each program's guidelines. After awarded grantees satisfy those pre-development requirements, they will enter into the implementation phase, during which capital improvements can take place. This is a 4-year period during which all remaining tasks and implementation requirements are completed. After the implementation phase, each grantee will have an evaluation phase lasting up to 1 year to measure outcomes, track impacts, and complete reporting requirements. Please review each program's guidelines for additional details about requirements for each phase of the implementation grant term.
For TCC specifically, there are early application components. Early application components are items that may have a due date or recommended submission date that is prior to the application close date of September 30th. All instructions for the early application components will be found in the Resources Google Drive folder. Apart from the pre-proposal, which is due on June 30th, 2026, these items are not submittable based. Early application components submitted through emailing tcc@sgc.pad.gov include proposals for projects under the Other Climate Innovation Strategy, Strategy 13, which applies only to implementation grant applicants. These proposals are due by June 15th. Applicants who do not submit a proposal by the deadline for approval may not utilize the strategy in their final application. Pre-proposal applies only for implementation grant applicants. It is due June 30th on submittable. Implementation grant applications who do not submit a pre-proposal may not submit a full application. Tribal modification requests, recommended deadline for pre-approval is July 31st, but they can also be submitted with the full application due September 30th. The July 31st due date is to guarantee enough time for SGC review and pre-approval or rejection and allow time for applicants to make adjustments if needed. project area exceptions for rural areas have a recommended deadline of July 31st for pre-approval, but may also be submitted with the full application due September 30th. All applicants may submit their project areas by July 31st for pre-approval. Tribal and unincorporated applicants are encouraged to work with application technical TA providers before submitting to SGC for pre-approval. As mentioned earlier, the collaborative governance structure and agreement govern the implementation of the grant term. Applicants design the structure and agreement to align with their needs. The agreements describe the decision-making procedures, legal and financial agreements, roles and responsibilities of all parties, and public meeting procedures. The tribal applicants across all grant types may request modifications to some of the collaborative governance requirements. For example, projects located on tribal land, requirements for public meetings, and sharing of information should be interpreted to apply to that tribal community, not to the public beyond that community. Please refer to Section 3.2 of the TCC and CRC guidelines for an exhaustive list of agreement requirements and available modifications for tribal applicants. To help applicants and grantees develop their collaborative governance structure and agreement, we created a collaborative governance agreement worksheet and a collaborative governance for tribes worksheet. This worksheet is a tool meant to help applicants establish the procedures, norms, and expectations for all parties involved in the grant. If an applicant is selected for an award, they will turn the terms outlined into the worksheet into a formal collaborative governance agreement no more than 90 days after contract execution. Third-party application technical assistance is available to eligible applicants of all grant types. Unfortunately, technical assistance is not available for all applicants. This round, TCC and CRC are prioritizing providing application TA to tribal applicants, and TCC is also prioritizing applicants with project areas in disadvantaged unincorporated communities. We encourage applicants to submit the application TA request form, which is open now, as soon as possible to maximize recipients' time spent with the TA provider. To be considered for TA, applicants must submit the request form by July 31st, 2026. It is important to note that receiving TA does not guarantee that an applicant will receive an award. SGC staff will provide general application TA support throughout the creation of supported materials, and please visit our program webpages to review our application resources or submit guideline and application questions to the respective programs' inboxes.
On behalf of the TCC and CRC teams, thank you for your interest in both of our programs and for your time participating in this webinar. Our key dates for both programs are listed here for your ease. For more information, navigate to our respective websites at sgc.ca.gov or email our program emails. We recommend joining our email lists for resources, updates, and further information about our grants during the application period. You can scan the QR codes or sign up via our website.
Finally, we encourage your organization and partners to read through all the guidelines and supplementing materials to see if you are eligible for either the TCC and CRC programs and to understand all the application requirements.
As a reminder, you can find the guidelines on the respective SGC program web pages, and the applications are available via Submittable.
Thank you for your time, and we look forward to hearing about your grant application.